We're no longer saying, I don't agree with you, let's sit and talk about it. I say, I don't agree with you, you should be cancelled, you should be banned, you should be fired, I don't want to hear you anymore. So this is kind of like a social phenomenon really that extends outside of the media. And maybe of course the algorithm contributes because we always see that one side of the coin. We always see people that we agree with. So maybe that also contributes to it. That if someone says something else, it's very foreign and unacceptable. But I think there's not much to be done on a big scale. I think simply what we need to do, as maybe Sophia mentioned as well, is to try to just be calm and have this individual responsibility that I'm not just gonna jump on the wagon and cancel anyone I don't agree with. There are obviously things where I think consequences are important. And I think maybe this is what happened. Like in the older generation, we felt like a lot of people have done horrible things and escaped consequences, like with the Me Too movement, with a lot of these things. But we're kind of taking it to the other extreme, where consequences have to be so big and so detrimental to a person for us to believe it. So I think I don't know what can be done really on a big scale, but I think there's definitely an individual responsibility to try to start from yourself, to be a bit more open to dialogue, and to try to hear the other person and not just shut them up.
I don't see it as a big problem because personally I don't want everyone to be on social media. Like you can exist without existing on social media. So it's not a big deal if some people don't want to be in this debate because sometimes it's so ugly that you don't want to be part of it, you don't want to be associated to this kind of language, you don't want to be putting yourself out there, you feel safer in a smaller, circle, you feel you're more respected if you're talking to the right people, because also there is we all know by now that social media is a double-sided sword. So now anyone can feel very important on social media just because, if you tweet, let's say today, this morning, and you have 20 people telling you, bravo, go ahead, congratulations, wow, etc. 20 people, how important you would feel? You would feel, like I'm great. All these people are telling me how great I am, how my achievement is huge. But if you don't put some sense in your head and go back to reality, this is only 20 people and the only judge about what I do or what I don't do has to be me. And what I believe is great or not great, what I believe I should work on better and improve in myself. If you really fall in this bubble and on this cloud of being so important, I think this is where the problem starts. If every one of us, senders of messages, not the receivers, I'm talking about you guys, about us, if every one of us really has the understanding and the critical thinking to know their size and their value and to keep working on themselves to become better and better and better on social media and outside social media without falling into the trap of feeling very important because just 5 or 20 or 30 people said we're amazing, that trap, if we avoid it, social media will become a better place. So it's about the human behavior after all and how it's reflecting on social media. It's showing on social media.
So there's too much narcissism going on.
Yes.
Interesting.
People will feel very important, right? Because like some people said, let's say, today I did like 1 hour and a half of walking, 8 kilometers, and people start liking and putting comments and I don't know what, and all of a sudden you feel like you're a hero.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, but give it its value, and everything else you should be able to measure it in its right value, not really blow things out of proportion.
Very interesting. Thank you. Sally, would you like to add?
I believe it's, again, social media has become something that all children nowadays have. They are living on YouTube more than they're living with their families, they're living on gaming, TikTok, everywhere. So, and Anna, what I push for, maybe because, this is my opinion, is to push for digital creators of media, but for more education, for more literacy, so that they can create content that could really live more than the content that is causing the disruption of social values. Speaking of human behavior, as you mentioned, there's always a tendency, there's a difference between the mass psychology and the individual psychology, and when the majority are doing something, then the minority follow. So what I believe would be a good plan or strategy to really befriend social media and overcome its bad effects or bad influence is to educate younger generation, because they're more tech savvy. So if we educate them on how they can be influencers in their own value or their own impact, and influence, I think there's a misconception about the meaning of influence nowadays on media. You don't have to have millions of followers to influence people. You could have 100 followers or 2 followers and you could influence. The type of content you're spreading really helps in living or outliving the negative content that is spread. Examples of that, body shaming, the other social dilemmas that we have been suffering from on social media. So that's what I believe in. I know. You wanted to ask something, Sah? Yes, okay, so it's a channel for kids. Okay, exactly.
I want to add something. So, yeah, we can talk about it after if you would like to make a Q&A at the end.
I have one more question.
Yeah, so we can.
And then we can open for the Q&A session. So my question is, we live in times, 21st century, the times we live in, the region that we live, where media, not only here but all over the world, media shapes hearts, minds, shapes behavior. We act, we speak in a way from a character that we saw, someone that we want to mimic on social media, an influencer. We're not always, but a lot of the time we're mimicking behavior from celebrities, from people that we saw, things that we watched on streaming content, on film, on TV in general. And you guys are media leaders, you're young media leaders. In your opinion, what are the main traits, the most important qualities that a media leader needs nowadays to navigate this complicated, knowing that they will influence they will influence the world, the society, they will shape behavior, they will shape mindsets. It's a powerful thing that we take for granted most of the time. What do media leaders need to be positively influential?
So I just want to cite Sophie for what she said. She mentioned critical thinking. This is on top of my head, and you can be my guest and say other qualities, but critical thinking is very essential, and to understand really the difference between collective values and individual values, because you have no clue how much responsibility you have on your plate in whatever you are writing as individuals. So I think these 2 things are very essential.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one other thing that to kind of like learn from first generation content creators and influencers, because I feel like we had the first batch and we're entering kind of like a phase 2, is not to be afraid to talk about things beyond the surface, because I think a lot of people watch the earlier creators, the founding fathers, and they see that there's a special type of content. You just do fashion, you just do this, you just do that. Not that there's anything wrong with these, but it's just to know that whatever your message is, whatever your interests are, even if they're educational, there is big room for it, and there's a lot of audience for it. So I think just to kind of like be brave and experiment, and things that you might think, people might find this too boring, but it's okay. What's nice about social media as well is that there's room for experimentation. When we worked in television, you have a thing set, you have your kind of like topic set for the season, and that's it. But what's nice about social media is that it's okay. You can experiment with a couple of videos and change things as you go. So I think don't be afraid to talk about things other than the mainstream, because you'll be surprised with the kind of audiences that are interested. And I think also like don't be afraid to not be perfect. I think some platforms, especially early days, Instagram, things were so perfect. Everything is edited.